Level 5 students. Yes, I'm going to be bringing you information in this video about how to answer your assignment matrix effectively, okay? Before we go into the questions, there are things I need to note. Number one, you should always have it at the back of your mind that the examiner is asking you questions in the context of a business environment. With this in mind, make sure you do, for all the questions, in order for it not to be abstract, relate it to your environment, what you can see, what you're used to on a daily basis. Okay, apart from that, make sure you do ample research on the topic at hand so that you get to really understand what is being asked of you, and then you can put it in your own words. And at the end of the day, your work will be original. And then when you make your references, make sure you use valid websites, okay, and then include those references in your work as well, due to plagiarism. Okay, now going to the question. Now this question is from Unit 40, International Marketing. Okay, so category D1 says you will discuss the organization's adaptation of different marketing strategies depending on the different markets. What is required of you here? Now, what is required of you here is that you take an example of a company like McDonald's, Big Mac, etc., how the various flavors and ingredients are used in different countries based on cultures, based on the impact of organizational success. You would also discuss international marketing criteria for selection as well, using the Potter's model to explain these four factors, using the Potter's model to explain, okay, and then you go on to explain different global companies like Coca-Cola, how they have been able to effectively come into an international market environment. And then you go on to explain globalization and localization in an international marketing context. You tabulate or you state the advantages and disadvantages based on products, price, promotion, etc. And finally, you would have to use a global company like Coca-Cola or its likes, explain its marketing mix, and give your conclusion. Okay, now, for this category, I'm going to be using McDonald's for my illustration. As I said earlier, you give a brief introduction of the company McDonald's, when it was founded, and how many companies it has in the UAE or in the GCC region as well. Okay, now using McDonald's international marketing strategy, one, standardization. A more elaborate explanation is given, but this helps McDonald's save money and build its economy of scales is given on the screen. Then as well as its adaptation strategy, how it has been able to adapt to different products in different regions. Like an example could be in the UAE, there's the McCafe that is similar to the Arabic coffee, as well as McDonald's uses halal products for its fish, for its chicken as well, and then it uses canola oil and sunflower oil to fry its chips to reduce for health purposes as well. Then now you go on to explain using the Potter's 5 forces analysis, using McDonald's for illustration, okay, how McDonald's has been able to overcome the threat of new entrants. Okay, example can be seen as an advantage of economy of scale within the industry, how it's fighting off new entrants through its cost advantage. Then you go to the next Potter's model, bargaining powers of supply, which it has for McDonald's. It has different suppliers for different geographical locations. This helps its aid efficiency. You could use examples as well. You can see a more elaborate explanation on the screen. Now then we go on to talk about standardization and localized strategies. For this illustration, we're going to be using Coca-Cola. Now you define what standardization is. Now for an example of Coca-Cola with reference to its marketing mix globalization, is a standardization of products, brands, and advertising of marketing practices across the world. An advantage of standardization for Coca-Cola can be that is an economy of scale for its products. It transfers experiences from one place to a place, and the uniform global image Coca-Cola projects. A disadvantage could say it dampens the creative spirits of the employees. Okay, and then you go on to explain what localization is. For me, I use an example of Honda European car models. They are different from Honda car models in UAE, as well as Coke. If you've had Coke in the United States, you would find that the taste is different from the Coke in Nigeria, as well as the Coke in UAE. You know, it adapts to the culture, you know, and it tweaks its products here and there. That's a Coca-Cola. Then you give an example of localization in Coca-Cola, tweaking the according to people's culture and economical price and market growth as well. And a disadvantage could be the global image challenges. Now, discussing Coca-Cola's marketing mix in terms of its products. Coca-Cola has a marketing mix of over 500 sparkling and still brands, from low-calorie choices to Fanta Lemon in UAE, Minute Maid and Seal in US, etc. In terms of place, Coca-Cola has so many distributed beverage across different distribution systems, including across different continents and regions, including Europe, Latin America, North America, Pacific, Africa, etc. Okay, in terms of price, Coca-Cola is very competitive. Actually, the prices are not too high, so that it doesn't go beyond the average customer's reach, and as well as it doesn't go too low, so that it doesn't give an impression of low quality. Okay, now category P3 says you will discuss the market selection and mode of entry used by companies in the foreign market. What is required of you here is, in a international business context environment like China or America, you discuss the market environment and then the different ways of entry, like preliminary screening, different steps of entry, preliminary screening, in-depth screening, final selection, etc. Then you go on to discuss about the market potential, market size, market growth, competitive intensity, etc. And then the risk assessments in regards to entering into an international market. Then based on your own study, you're required to give your own conclusion and feedback. So how do you go about this? Now, I'm going to be using for my illustration China. How China is a rapidly growing international markets to invest in. You know, you can use China or you can use the UAE as well. Whatever international market you think, you can use that as an example. And then for entry, you have to do country identification. You can see on the screen preliminary screening as well. Examples are given on the screen for more in-depth understanding. Then you go on to talk about the factors affecting the selection of entry modes, which is the market size, market growth, etc., government regulation. You can use the example of entering into the UAE market, which is a lucrative market for Indian firms, but you have the limitation is that you have to operate with a local partner, which could be challenging in some ways. Then you go on to explain the 5 modes